Well, I'm delighted today to be speaking to Allan Wood, who's Global Head of Business Development for Jersey Finance. We're on site here in Johannesburg. Allan, great to see you.
It's lovely to see you, David. It's great to be back in South Africa where the sun is shining, hey?
So it's exciting to be working with Jersey Finance on another event in South Africa. We've done 2 previous successful events in Cape Town.
Yep.
Are you looking forward to the dinner tonight?
Really looking forward to the dinner on the basis that we haven't done it in Johannesburg. I know we've been intending to do it, but if it's anything like the Cape Town dinners, then it's going to be a huge success.
Fantastic. So your brief within Jersey Finance is to really look across the whole of Africa. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about the activities you undertake and then in the South African context.
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm head of business development, but prior to that, I led the Africa agenda for 5.5 years. So I've got a passion for Africa. I spend a lot of time in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria. But we've got 2 amazing employees now. So we've got Faisal Labana based out in Dubai, who covers East and West Africa. So Kenya and Nigeria. And then recently we appointed Rafaro about 18 months ago, who's a fantastic asset here in Johannesburg.
Fantastic. And you've got a big couple of weeks coming up in South Africa. Give us a flavour of some of the activity you've got going on.
Well, yeah, so a big end to the year. So we've got 8 events this week between Johannesburg and Cape Town, obviously including yours. So we've got 2 fund events, 2 step events and 2 private client events across the 2 locations. And then we've got Super Return next week and trying to squeeze in meetings as well. So it's cram-packed, but it's good that we've got some of our members that have come down and some professionals from London as well, which is nice to see.
Because you help mobilise the private sector firms in Jersey that cover Africa and support them in their journey trying to develop business here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. We create a platform for people to talk about current trends, challenges, what's going on. But what is quite interesting is it's historically been all private wealth over the last couple of decades. We've seen a lot of interest on the fund side, so that's why we've started doing some fund events in jurisdiction.
And are you welcoming being back in person? I mean, we've had this big travel hiatus, but it's great to be back pressing the flesh. You learn more, don't you, when you're out talking to people in person?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll have known this. You know, COVID was a difficult period. I think we maximised COVID because we managed to do about 200 virtual events.
Wow.
The preparation there's nothing like face-to-face, is there, let's be frank. And but we've had a very busy schedule right across Jersey Finance, so you know, Middle East, Asia, US, London, and then we did a roadshow not so long back in Kenya. So finishing off in South Africa is quite nice. It's a beautiful part of the world to be in.
And it's an important market for Jersey, isn't it? I mean, the resources you're putting into this market are a signifier of the fact that there is opportunity here. How do you see it? I
must admit, David, I did try and do a bit of South African work after I took the head of business development, and you just lose connectivity, and it's such an important market. That's why we decided to
have a dedicated person.
Rafaro. I'd known Rafaro for 7 years, so it was an easy decision to make. We didn't really page the job because we knew who we wanted, and she's slotting in, and she's opening up different elements of the market that when you're in a flying model, it's not so easy to do. I was coming down maybe 3 or 4 times a year. To having somebody based here, and she's between Johannesburg and Cape Town all the time.
Terrific. Yeah. And what are some of the opportunities that you're seeing from the economy here? Are there certain exciting stories of growth of companies and looking to go overseas, and you're part of that journey?
Yeah, well, as I say, you know, from our perspective, if I look at our skill set, you know, there's 2 areas that complement this market. So one's private wealth, and that could be anything from, you know, somebody that's got a couple of $1 million right up to an ultra-high family that's got a family office. And that can be, you know, right through to their charitable giving and philanthropy. But what is exciting, I find, is on the fund side. So alternative funds, you know, we've got a huge industry in Jersey, and it's a global player, if you want. But from a South African perspective, you know, we start to see some of the challenges in other international finance centres, and notoriously, not a lot of the structuring would have come through Jersey, but institutional investors from the US and even some of the DFIs wanted a no-change outlook. So that's great news because we are now facilitating more capital into Africa. And a lot of it comes through South Africa and it'll channel its way into East and West as well. So that economic growth, job creation lens is something that we're really interested in. And so I imagine that we'll be doing more of that going into next year.
Are you seeing Jersey firms expanding the footprint here where they have an office here? Are those offices growing?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And if you went back a decade ago, even from a Mauritian perspective, you know, you've got a lot of trust companies that have bought Mauritian trust companies. So not all of the transactions are suitable for Jersey. We look after high net worth individuals, and we look after, you know, fund structures for managers here. But you know, some of the trading vehicles might not be appropriate, but our members have seen a huge opportunity there. So I would imagine if you looked at the trust companies across Mauritius, the top 10% are owned by Jersey firms now. So from a Jersey perspective, high net worth families and then fund managers that are looking to access European capital is probably the two key areas that we've seen. But we do see trading companies as well that are looking for a holding vehicle in Jersey.
And just picking up on the family office trends, I mean, what's the key proposition for family offices in Jersey for South African clients?
Well, I suppose when you're setting up a family office, each family office is different. So the ones that we've seen, some of them are very philanthropic in their nature, and it's planning for the next generation. So Jersey's been very successful in single family offices over the last decade or so, and we've seen some big South African family offices. And it's all to do with, at the end of the day, you need economic substance. So you're going to be sending some of your close advisors. And then you've got that ecosystem. So it is lifestyle, it is stability, it is the rule of law. The ecosystem has got to support their family as well. So schools, we've got some of the best restaurants in the world. The beaches are great. Our connectivity in and out of London and further afield is good. So it's all of that is important.
If beneficiaries end up in the UK, US, somewhere else, there's the knowledge of how to manage those sort of structures over the long term with real clarity, isn't there?
But and also, we're custodians of 1.5 trillion of capital. We've got 14,000 professionals. So you've got a deep pool of expertise. We've got the largest step chapter in the world. We've got huge skills across the legal profession. So it's a combination of all of them things. So if you're needing to, set up a family office, there's obviously lots of locations that you can go to, but there's a blend of things that you've got to consider. And Jersey, with these strong links that we've had with South Africa, it's an easy choice. So we're becoming sort of the choice from a South African perspective. And I imagine that we'll see a flow over the coming years as well.
And there's a lot of professional services infrastructure in Jersey for coverage of African clients, aren't there? Whether it's from the banking, asset management, the legal side, fiduciary.
Yeah.
And within those businesses, South Africans who are now working in Jersey. So I guess you've got the fabric of understanding there of clients.
But also a lot of these clients have connectivity into London as well, and their advisors are based in London. And so we have this symbolic relationship with the UK where we've got some professionals that are out with us this week and that do South African work. So I think it's a combination of, Jersey has created an ecosystem for financial services that is world leading, but also being on the doorstep of the UK, and that connectivity into Europe as well is quite attractive for some of these families.
Is ESG and impact investing also something you're seeing coming up in conversations, both on the fund management side, but also in the private wealth sector? Well,
so tomorrow we've got a session on it. So one of the panels is focused on that, and sustainable finance has been a really key driver for us. So. We set a vision for 2030 to become a global leader in sustainable finance, and there's a lot of work that's been taking place. So our sustainable lead has been at COP26. We've got a whole host of interest from our members. So we had a Sustainable Finance Awards ceremony, which was really great to see, members actually embedding the policies and procedures within their business models. But let's be frank, this is driven by the next generation that are looking at some of these hot topics. And for Africa, climate change is a big issue.
So it's a pressing issue that's so visible for them.
Yeah, and even South Africa has been affected quite a lot with the floods recently. We've seen it in Nigeria. So from our perspective, we want to be seen as a force for good. And I think it's really important that we're a leader in this discussion because we're custodians of all this capital. That's really an interesting area.
So you're just finishing a big year, as you said at the top, lots of activity going on. What's in the programme for 23? More of the same?
Well, yeah, so on the basis that we've got Rafaro based on the ground here, things like the annual STEP conference, Super Return, SAVCA, there's a couple of tax conferences. But in addition, she'll be leading some of the women in finance type activities, which is really important. And then just networking events. So I think the call to action is if people haven't reached out to Rafaro, it'd be great for them to do that maybe early in the new year. And we might even pay for the coffees.
Fantastic. Well, look, Allan, great to talk to you. Really looking forward to having a glass tonight and enjoying meeting our guests.
Thank you very much, David. Cheers.